Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lunch and Learn from Roofer's Coffee Shop. It is snowing outside right now, and it is cold this winter, and we've got a lot of cold weather going on across the country. So this Lunch and Learn is all about how to extend your season. Today's learning objectives: 1, how to extend your season. 2, Artic Edge as a solution, and you'll find out what Artic Edge is. And finally, the advantages of both using the right products and also having more business throughout the winter.
My name is Abby Feinstein. I'm the Senior Product Manager for Commercial Roofing at CertainTeed. I've been with the company about 7 years. Prior to that, I was in a variety of construction/sustainability type businesses. But yeah, happily been with CertainTeed in the same role for the last 7 years.
So Abby, let's talk about the importance, more than ever, of roofing contractors being able to extend their season. What are you seeing?
I mean, if you look through just the last couple of years, especially, I feel like life is pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Yeah.
Roofing is hectic and crazy and nonstop. So contractors are, from what I can see, constantly looking for ways to be able to fit that one more job in. So we are just trying to help them find an economical and safe way to extend the roofing season so that they can get in more jobs. Of course, there's the contractors that love the slow down time, right? Take time with family, which we totally support. So if you want to take off while it's cold, good on you for going into roofing.
Yeah.
If you do work during cold weather, it's a different technique, right? Because the materials react differently no matter what you're using in cold weather.
Well, and to go to that point of talking about labor shortage, one of the most important things for every roofing company out there is to keep their labor, to retain. And so by keeping your crews busy throughout the winter, much higher retention level. They don't look around so much.
For sure. Yep, that's a great point.
What's kind of the history of some of the products that have been used in low temperatures, used to extend that season?
A lot of times you'll see winter grade, summer grades. That's been most manufacturers' approach, whether you're talking about the material itself or the adhesives being used to help put those materials in. What we see a lot, within the CertainTeed product line is we have a lot of contractors that might do self-adhered for the labor savings, for the training advantages, health and safety, all the things that, support self-adhered roofing. But then they stop at this like shoulder months, call it September, October, certainly by November, December, and then they'll pivot to torching because the flame fundamentally is hot. That's the most common thing that we see. If you're talking about roofing in general, we just see a lot of winter grade products, which pose its own problems, both for distribution and contractors, because you're talking about managing two different sets of SKUs.
Right. So talk a little bit more about the SA membranes. Like you said, that is a solid solution that so many contractors are using. So what is changing now with being able to bring in, use that product more in low temps?
Sure. So Flintlastic SA, which is the CertainTeed SA brand, was introduced in 2003. So next year we're actually going to be celebrating 20 years in service, but has always been published to go down 50 degrees and rising. So with no ancillary support, you can install Flintlastic SA 50 degrees and above. And that's a pretty common temperature, whether you're 40, 50, that's typically the cutoff for roofing if you're going to use traditional or summer grade or year-round materials, and things that fall below that are either winter grade or need some additional support. So a couple of years ago, we really started addressing this with a focus because we were hearing pretty vehemently from the market that was both a complaint from our SA adopters, the contractors that loved SA anyway, that they really didn't have a solution for shoulder months and the winter. And it was also something holding people back that had not yet adopted SA, whether that was contractors or the spec market. Specifiers and consultants were not comfortable specifying a product that really wasn't a year-round solution. So a couple of years ago, we approved, after actually testing for almost a decade, the use of a hot air welder in side laps and end laps. And while it works really well, it really slows things down. And so arguably that's the number one driver for SA is the speed at which that roof goes down. We talked about that in our labor studies.
Right.
So for the last couple of years, we've been working on a solution that preserves that benefit, but also allows the cold weather application.
Now, how does that influence warranties? I mean, as you just mentioned specifiers and what they're specifying, and then you have the warranties below it. How is that all working within the cold weather applications?
Sure. So I don't want to speak to other companies' warranties and what they stand behind, but we've just adopted it into our standard integrity roof system warranties. So whether you're doing a product only warranty or a no dollar limit material and workmanship warranty, Artic Edge is now written into the warranty as an acceptable material that's just covered. So regardless of warranty duration, we warrant SA systems up to 25 years. If you used Artic Edge as part of that installation, it would just be part of the warranty. There's not a separate warranty for the product.
Really, this is going to be a game changer. So maybe just tell us overall, what is Artic Edge? How does it work?
Yes. Let's get into the details. So Artic Edge is a use only as needed auxiliary tape, and it's designed to boost adhesion in critical interfaces while the weather is cold, accounting for the fact that the entirety of the roof and your like full roof long-term bond is going to occur as the sun beats down on that roof and warms things up. So the critical interfaces I'm talking about are overlap areas essentially, and the perimeter of the roof. So you want to make sure as a contractor, of course, that when you walk off that roof at the end of the night, you have peace of mind and you're not worried about a blow off or leaks working in cold weather. So it's about a 4-inch wide tape. Actually, if you could picture holding a roll of toilet paper, Artic Edge is a little bit heavier, but from a form factor, that's pretty much what you got.
Okay.
So I say that actually on the 4 inches because you actually can't walk into your standard big box store and buy a 4-inch wide tape applicator. So we've purchased handheld applicators through Uline. There's also handheld and stand-up applicators through Ranger, but you want to make sure if you're going to use Artic Edge, just kind of think ahead in terms of application. Let's say you're using a mechanically attached base in your system. Artic Edge is not going to have anything to do with that. You're going to mechanically attach as you normally would. But at the first point in your system at which you're going to self-adhere, you're going to want to put the Artic Edge around the frame of the roof or the perimeter of the roof. It's a double-sided tape, so it goes down, and then you're going to want to pull the release off the tape to expose the top side sticky, and then you just adhere as you would. We have instructional support, obviously, which is better than me just kind of talking this through. But if you can picture, okay, you get your first course down with your perimeter edging. Then as you install the subsequent courses, whether they're base sheets or cap sheets, you're going to be putting Artic Edge down in that overlap or the salvage area. Again, pulling the release before you stick down. Couple tips and tricks or things I would want to point out. It is not used for granule surface overlaps. So if you were doing a granule overlap, let's say as part of an end lap or a cut roll or base flashing detail, we would still recommend, if you don't want to keep mastic warm or something like that, that you would use during warm weather. If the mastic gets cold, that would be a very traditional go-to solution in those areas. It gets kind of like difficult to spread, like trying to spread butter after it's been in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So your options would be to keep it warm, and we can talk about techniques for that. Or you can use a hot air welder for granule overlaps as well, which some folks choose just to avoid the potential mess of the mastic.
So why, when we're talking about Artic Edge, just maybe explain to everybody why, what's so special about it that it has this adhesion when you're on the laps compared to just doing your normal?
The straight laps, yeah. So the bottom side of Flintlastic SA self-adhered membranes is an SBS modified adhesive. So it's the roll itself is SBS modified, and we have a proprietary adhesive that gets built into that bottom surface. Fundamentally, that adhesive starts to, the molecules, if you will, start to want to hold on to each other to keep warm as it gets pulled out. So they're not like loosey-goosey and wanting to give each other a hug when they get slapped together. So one option we could have done is go on the winter summer grade roll, where we had our summer solution, which is basically the standard solution we've had for 20 years. And we could have adjusted the adhesive on the back surface so that it did stay warmer and wanted to be happy and grab onto the, to its partner when it gets stuck together. And we do have a competitor that has a solution like that out there. We just felt we have a very deep relationship with distribution and have talked, voice of customer from our contractors. And there's just a lot of issues with trying to maintain two rolls. There's a bit of Murphy's Law, right? Which is like, especially when you're in the October, November, or the April, March time period, where it could be cold, but it might not be cold. Which set of inventory do you keep? If you have inventory on hand and you don't sell it out, now you're stuck sitting on that until the next season comes around. And planning, right? So if you have a job booked for a shoulder month, what are you trying to buy? Are you buying the winter grade or the summer grade? And you don't want to, if you buy the winter grade and then you have an unseasonably warm day, you're dealing with a pretty soft roll. So we really wanted to come out with a solution that didn't touch the rolls, let the rolls be preserved and be what they are. And so it is a proprietary, basically acrylic-based acrylate tape that's reinforced. So it's clear. It almost looks like packing tape, but it is deathly sticky. So I will warn you from example or from experience, if you do lay it out and pull that release film off, you better be ready to install your membrane. If you put your knee down in it, you're going to stick to it. If you step in it, you're going to stick to it. If you drop your SA membrane and it still has its release film on it, one of the things we did when we were playing around in the field with it was we had the tape all ready to go, and then we went to position the membrane, and that was a mistake because it got stuck to the tape, and then we were in kind of a, we went like fools. So you have to have your SA membrane ready to go in position with the release film off before you essentially unveil your sticky surface with Artic Edge.
Those are the kind of things too. And I know you have videos and you have brochures and you have training out in the field, but be sure that you know how to do it so that your crews enjoy it and make it and get it right.
Yeah. Only other kind of major tip and trick I would say is the way a lot of the stand-up applicators work, they're great for everything that's not the perimeter in terms of production and keeping your SA speed up. Throw a roll in a stand-up applicator. It's like a floor tape applicator, if you can picture, for industrial kind of warehouses or whatnot. And you can go really quick because it has its own little like weighted roll. It gets the tape down very quickly, nice long side laps. But the way that it works, typically you can't use it on the perimeter because half of it would kind of fall off into the sky. It needs to be braced on both sides. So you want to have a handheld applicator regardless. But certainly for larger projects, I recommend making the $300 investment and getting a stand-up applicator.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole idea is speed and doing it correctly, right? Yeah. It goes down to 35 degrees, but what if it's 34? What if it's 30? Can people still be installing it and using it at that time?
They can. We actually have tested the tape from an adhesion perspective in a cold room, and it adheres perfectly fine down to 20 degrees. The reason we said 35, and really if we were okay to be less technical, the answer is really to stay above freezing. And we do that not because the tape is going to give out on you, but really because then you start to be dealing with dew point. And the tape is very, very sticky in cold weather, but it is not sticky to moisture. If you start, let's say early in the morning, cross that dew point threshold where now you have condensate on the roof, essentially, you would still need to wait for the roof to dry.
A lot of times on the roof, when it's cold, you have to warm up products, you have to check up. How does that work? Does the tape need to be warmed up, or is it ready to go?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Cold weather means that products can be installed in ambient cold weather. Cold rolls, whether you're talking about modified rolls or single ply rolls, they contract. I mean, this is basic physics. So once those rolls are then installed, if you installed them in a contracted state, they really have a difficult time then spreading out and getting happy at baseline. And so what ends up happening is you'll see like tenting or mole runs. So it's critical to keep rolls warm, regardless of the rolls you're using when you're working in cold weather. The best thing that I've seen, which I would recommend, is investing in like a 10 by 10 or 10 by 20 even pop-up tent that has the sides to it. Those tents are relatively light. And that way, if you stage your roof, especially on a big project, you can actually kind of put the tent where you need it, throw some sandbags down, of course, so you don't have lift off, but then keep a heater in that tent and keep, a couple pallets and adhesives warm wherever you need them warm, and then move the tent as you progress around the roof. That's the best thing I've seen.
What are some of the biggest advantages you see to using this product to extend your season?
I think the detail associated with using it as needed is the biggest advantage for a contractor. So you're not going to spend money that you don't need when you're talking about Artic Edge, because you're just buying your standard rolls and you're investing a nominal amount to buy some tape to go along with that. The tape does not go bad. You're going to have a cold season. And if you're installing SA, you're going to use it. So if you buy it and you're prepared for your job and you end up not using it, it's not like being stuck with pallets upon pallets of rolls that you didn't need, or forcing your crews to work through a basically warm application with a cold weather solution. The other example that I would use is a classic fall day in Philly, I would say, which is that you wake up and it's 26 degrees, but by midday it's 54. What do you do then? So what I really like about this is that you're using Flintlastic SA all day long. And at the point in the day in which you don't need to use Artic Edge to get that bond where you need it, just stop using it.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Think about September, October, that's how those days are.
Yeah. So for me, if I'm a roofer talking to my client, I'm excited about the fact that my crew knows these products. We put it down fast, and now we have a solution to continue to use that product that delivers the same benefits that modified asphalt has for years, without the fumes, without the hot kettle, all the things that we'd use to sell self-adhered. You're not training your crews on something different, and if they don't need it, they won't use it, right?
Along with that, let's just talk a little bit about the advantages of using Artic Edge with the SA membranes. What are some of the things it eliminates? So what are some of the things like you talked about earlier, hot air welding or slow curing metal primers? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for the folks that adopted the hot air welding for the last couple of years, this is definitely going to be a game changer for them. I appreciate the loyalty, but it was definitely a slowdown. So we love that we're eliminating that on side labs. Thank you for bringing up the metal primer. I almost forgot to mention that. So with any metal details, so a very obvious one would be edge metal. If your roof terminates at an edge, perhaps with a gutter or just fascia along the edge of the wall, but not a parapet wall or up against some other vertical surface, you're going to have edge metal in that system. And so traditionally in normal weather, warmer weather, I should say, when you're installing SA, you're going to want to prime any metal surfaces that are going to be self-adhered to, so you get a good bond. That's fine, and we have Flint Prime aerosol, which is a quick dry and keeps things moving in warm conditions. In cold conditions, you can still use the primer, but the flash off time for that to tack up can be like 30 minutes, and then you've got guys just standing around waiting for the primer to flash off. So we were excited to test the bond of the tape to a metal surface. It bonds very well. You do need to prep the metal accordingly, just as you would for using primer. You don't want any of like the latent passivation oils from manufacturing to be on that top surface. So you do need to clean that off. But then, yeah, you're not waiting for a primer to dry. You can just apply the tape like you would any surface and go right down to it.
That's excellent. And another time saver. Wow. Okay, so let's just kind of go back again and talk a little bit about the crews, the advantages to the crews. So what I liked is what you were saying earlier too, that they don't have to be switching roles on the roof, but they can also judge their own day and they can go to work. I mean, I think on some of those days when, it starts out at 35 in the morning and gets to 50, crews just wait to start installing and they don't have to anymore.
Losing half a day is not good for your business. It's also not good for your crew, to your point about retention, that is relying on those earnings. It's Christmas time, for Pete's sake. Everybody wants presents under that tree. Mom needs new set of shoes. So, you want to get on as many jobs as you can when you can.
Yeah. And get them and keep your crews happy, keep them busy. Okay. What about advantages too around the fumes, flames? I mean, you were talking about torching earlier. I mean, this really kind of takes all of that away.
Yeah, one of the reasons we didn't look into primer as a solution long term. You start to get into solvents when you're dealing with cold weather solutions in a lot of cases with primers, and we really wanted to uphold health and safety benefits of self-adhering. So, a lot of what we hear from contractors, whether it's driven by wanting to reduce insurance premiums or attracting labor from the new labor pool, is these guys, if they can avoid it, or gals, don't want to be dealing with 350-degree kettles. They want a pleasant day at work just as much as you and I do.
Right.
So we were really excited to find a solution that was not noxious, no odor whatsoever, just totally upheld the benefits of no fumes, no flames.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so for the contractors out here, the roofing companies, the office who are watching this right now, and they're like, this is it. This is what we need. This is how we're going to extend our season. How do they start? How do they kind of get the training that you're talking about and just making sure that they're doing everything the right way?
Sure. Every single contractor that I've talked to about this is cautiously optimistic, right? So they're like, this is the solution I would use, but I need to see that it works. So no problem. We are providing free samples and our territory managers can help you get the applicator or use one of their applicators just to try things out on a job, even if you want to try it on a small section. So I would say that, don't feel like you need to jump into the pool in all your clothes. So first thing, I would pick up a free sample. We do have a lot of support for instruction, but your commercial territory manager is your best go-to in terms of liaison to all of that information. And we are ever increasing our technical support out into the field. So if if you're at a point where you would like to have some support on the job for the first job, our CTMs, our commercial territory managers, are trained up, but we also have field techs, and we can come out and support the first job. But it really is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. Abby, thank you. Another great development, great product. Thank you for everything you do for the industry and all the great technology that you're bringing to the forefront. This is excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Thank you for having me and talking about it. I appreciate it.
We love it. We love it. So for everyone out there, if you have your learning objectives, your download sheet, please remember, this is talking about how to extend your season, make more money, make your customers happier, the solution of Artic Edge from CertainTeed, and the advantages of not only using the right products like Artic Edge, but extending that season, not only for your customers, but for your employees, for your company overall, and your profitability. So I hope you all enjoyed this lunch and learn. Thank you so much. Be sure to take a picture and send it to us, and we'll give you a lunch on us. Thanks a lot and have a great day.